Hey guys, this is Mark. In this video, I will talk about a form of login into an application built with Backendless, and that is login with a phone number. It is quite often that you want to provide this functionality to your users where they don't have to remember a password and they can simply log in with a phone number. In order to do this, we will use an extension available in Backendless Marketplace, which is integration with Twilio. That extension is free, but you have to have a Twilio account, and for all the SMS messages that are sent by your application to deliver an SMS code, of course, extra charges may apply coming from Twilio. The workflow is very simple. User registers, they provide their phone number during the registration. It can be passwordless registration where they basically identify themselves or agree to identify themselves by using kind of two-factor authentication with a phone number. So the flow is going to be like this. We're going to skip registration. We already talked about it in a separate video, and we will consider the scenario where a user comes in. They are presented with a login form that contains just their phone number, so they put in their phone number, an SMS with a code sent out to that phone number, and then on the subsequent screen, user enters the phone number that enters the code that they got sent to them, and if the code is correct, then they are logged in. You identify who they are, you have their identity, you have that Backendless user object with all the properties, and they can start using your application. So given that this is the flow, let's review individual components that are required to make it happen. First of all, if you head out to the marketplace that is built into Backendless console, and then under API services, select all services, and you will see this plugin that says Twilio Integration plugin. I already installed it, but whenever you install it, you will be presented with a configuration panel where you have to enter information about your Twilio account. That configuration panel will look something like this, so exactly like this. So all of this, Twilio SID, Twilio auth token, Twilio sender phone number, you will get from your Twilio account. So whenever you register with Twilio, you log in on the main Twilio dashboard, you will see all of this information. This is the text that will be used in the SMS message. You can customize it. The code substitution variable needs to stay there. That will contain the actual value of the code that is sent to your customers. And this will be a column in the users table that the plugin expects, where it expects to find the actual phone numbers for the authentication purposes and for other things, primarily authentication purposes. So whenever you install this plugin and enter all of this information, this will be done through the marketplace, but you can edit it. By the way, if you go to Cloud Code, you will have this Twilio API service selected, and you can edit it by clicking this gear icon. But once you do it, then you will need to go into your application, and in the schema for the users table, you will need to create a column called phone number, or whatever name of that column you decide to be when you configure Twilio plugin. So I have already done all of that, and in the one of the users, which is myself, I added my phone number in here. So we're basically skipping the registration process, and we're assuming that users in your application do have phone numbers. Now, that's the setup that is needed. Let's switch to UI Builder. That's what I will demonstrate this functionality with, but this is not limited to UI Builder. Integration of login with a phone number is available for all platforms that we support, because it is an API service. It is accessible through every single application that is built with Backendless. In fact, if you go to our website on backendless.com and then navigate to Features, and then under Features, select Backendless Marketplace, you will see here Twilio Integration plugin. This provides all the technical details as far as setting up this phone number column, and then the information about using the API. And you can see that it supports user registration with phone, verification, all the APIs, login with phone number, all the good stuff, and including, I think, sending just an SMS message to a user. So all of it is there, but I'll be using Codeless because, once again, it is visual and it's very easy to demonstrate and understand the actual flow. For this, let me switch to the UI Builder interface. And my demo consists of 3 screens. The first one is the account login. This is where I ask the user to enter their phone number. And in here, whenever this form is submitted, the following codeless logic is executed. Notice that there is this block that says API service Twilio. Whenever you install Twilio Integration plugin in Codeless, you will get under this API services this section right here with Twilio. And this is all the functionality that is included in that integration plugin that you can start taking advantage of. In my case, which is the login with the phone number, there is going to be an operation here that says login with phone number, which is what I'm using here. Only one argument, input parameter is required, which is phone number. And in here, I will be passing in information that the user types in. So they're logging in with that specific phone number. What happens then is this block, or that API request, if you are not using Codeless, if you're just integrating it in Android or iOS or JavaScript, it will return transaction ID. And that transaction ID must be used as in the second step of the authentication to verify the code that you will be now receiving from the user. And that's what happens on the subsequent screen. So notice that I invoke login with phone number, I get this transaction ID. This will result sending an SMS code to that user if a user with this phone number is found. And after that, I am transferring my user who uses this UI application to a page that is called get SMS code, which is we'll be getting SMS code from the end user. And I'm sending this transaction ID to that second page, the same transaction ID that my Twilio API service returned. So this is kind of identifier of the whole process. All right, so let's switch to the get SMS code page. And this is going to be right here. So in here, this is the second step. And so now at this point, user received that code via SMS, and they're going to be typing that code in this form and submitting this form. So in here, what we are doing is we're calling yet another API service from the Twilio plugin that is called login with code. And in here, we're passing the code that the user typed in. That's this argument code. And we're passing transaction ID from the first step. Okay, that's why we sent it into this page from the previous page. So there are 2 parameters now. If the code matches and the transaction is still valid because it's going to be alive for some time to give the user the time to do the authentication. It cannot last forever. It's going to expire at some point. And if it expires, there's going to be an error coming back. But if that code matches and the transaction is still alive, then what we're going to be getting back is the actual user. And then with that user, we basically initialize the application with, and then we're moving to the logged in page. It's the same page that I used previously in the, I think it was the guest login video. That's the flow. Very, very simple. Let's see how it works once I run it. So let me switch to the phone login screen. And in here, let's just run it. Let me prepare my phone. I'm going to be screencasting my phone to right here to the video. So this is my phone. In fact, and let me just type in my phone number and start the login. So send code. So this is the phone is live, and we should be getting the SMS. There you go. It arrives. This is the code 27081. 27081. Log in. And now, see, we got to the page where it says hello Mark. So, and it knows it's Mark because it pulled in from that user record that was used in the authentication, the same user record that had that phone number. And that's the flow. So it is very simple because, as you can see, there is not a lot of logic that I had to use to make it happen. Really just two steps. One is to initiate the process by sending the code, and then for that there is an API service. And then second step is to confirm this code and get the actual user object. And once you have that Backendless user object, the rest is going to be the same regardless whether you use regular login, social login, guest login. It's going to be exactly the same. So all methods, all authentication methods supported by Backendless, they all trickle down to just having one structure, which is Backendless user object with all the properties matching column names that you can use in your application. And you can actually mix and match all of these authentication methods in the same Backendless application just by giving options to your users. That's all I have prepared for you guys today. Thank you for watching, and as always, happy Backendless coding.